Welcome to World Alert Updates. Subscribe and press the bell icon for more updates. The South China Sea is more than just water. It's a crossroads of history, ambition, and conflict, where ancient currents meet modern ambitions. For centuries, its currents have carried not only trade and culture but also the hopes and dreams of countless generations. Today, those same waters carry the weight of global tension, as nations vie for influence and control. Trillions in trade pass through these waters every year, making their stability a concern not just for the region, but for the entire world economy. Recent standoffs between Chinese and Philippine vessels are only the latest tremors in a region perpetually on edge, where every encounter could escalate into something far more serious. The world watches closely, aware that what happens here could reshape the global order and set precedents for international relations. Chinese Coast Guard ships confront smaller Philippine supply boats often trying to reach the BRP Sierra Madre, a rusting ship turned symbol of Philippine sovereignty at Second Thomas Shoal, now a focal point in this maritime chess game. These confrontations are a dangerous dance, each maneuver a statement and a challenge, with both sides testing the limits of patience and resolve. This is not yet a war of bullets, but a war of nerves and international will, where restraint is as important as strength. The sea's geography makes it a natural point of contention, bordered by nations with overlapping claims and deep historical grievances. China's sweeping 9-dash line overlaps with the exclusive economic zones of Vietnam, Malaysia, Brunei, and the Philippines, creating a patchwork of disputes. At the core of the conflict lies a fundamental clash: historical claims versus the principles of modern international law, with each side presenting its own evidence and arguments. The South China Sea is now the stage for a great power drama, where military might and diplomatic maneuvering intersect. China asserts its historical narrative. The Philippines and others defend their rights under international law, each seeking support from the global community. The US, and now the European Union, are entering the scene, transforming what was once a regional dispute into a global test case for the rules-based order. The future of maritime freedom and the rule of law is being decided here, as navies patrol and courts deliberate. The world's attention is fixed on these turbulent waters, with every incident making headlines and sparking debate. The stakes are high, not just for those who border the sea, but for the entire global system, from fishermen whose livelihoods are at risk to markets that react to every new development. Every incident is a reminder: the South China Sea is a flashpoint with consequences far beyond its shores, capable of sending shockwaves through international politics and commerce. The question is not just who controls these waters, but what kind of world order will prevail, one based on power or on law and cooperation. The outcome here will echo across oceans and generations, shaping the future for those yet to come. The South China Sea is a test, and the world is watching, waiting to see what the next chapter will bring. The Philippines and China, David and Goliath on the open ocean, locked in a high-stakes contest that shapes the future of the region. China, with the world's largest navy, has built sprawling artificial islands and fortified military outposts, projecting its power far from its own shores and deep into contested waters. Its strategy is clear: persistent pressure, both military and economic, designed to wear down smaller neighbors and assert dominance over vital sea routes. The Philippines, with far more limited resources, turns to international law as its shield, seeking justice and protection through global institutions. In 2016, Manila achieved a landmark legal victory at The Hague, with the tribunal invalidating China's sweeping 9-dash line claim and upholding Philippine rights. Yet, China flatly rejected the ruling, leaving the Philippines legally right but physically outmatched on the water, as tensions continued to simmer. Philippine supply missions to the grounded BRP Sierra Madre at Second Thomas Shoal have become flashpoints, regularly met by Chinese blockades, water cannons, and dangerous close encounters. These confrontations are classic examples of gray zone warfare, aggressive actions that stop just short of open conflict, but keep the region on edge. For the Philippines, the stakes are deeply personal, defending not just sovereign rights but also the livelihoods of thousands of fishermen who depend on these waters for survival. For China, it's about asserting historical influence, securing vital sea lanes for trade and military movement, and reinforcing its status as a regional superpower. The Philippines fights back with transparency, sharing videos of confrontations and rallying global support, hoping to turn international opinion into a force for change. The world now watches as a small nation stands firm, wielding law and diplomacy as its slingshot against a much larger adversary. The struggle remains deeply unequal, but the battle for legitimacy, justice, and the rule of law in the South China Sea is far from over, and its outcome will echo for generations. Enter the European Union, a distant but powerful actor on the world stage, whose influence reaches far beyond its borders. The EU's interest isn't about claiming territory, but about upholding a core principle, the rule of law, which it sees as essential for global stability. The EU champions peaceful resolution through international law, especially the United Nations Convention on the Law of the Sea, or UNCLOS, which sets the rules for maritime conduct. It strongly supports freedom of navigation and overflight, rights that are vital for its own trade and the global economy. The EU recognizes the 2016 arbitral award as legally binding, lending significant weight to the Philippines' position and reinforcing the authority of international courts. This isn't about taking sides in a territorial dispute, but about upholding the rules-based order that keeps peace and fairness in international relations. The EU condemns actions that endanger maritime safety, sending a clear and unmistakable message to Beijing and the world. Its involvement is also self-interested. EU-Asia trade depends on open sea lanes, and any disruption could threaten economic growth and stability. By speaking out, the EU defends the global system that underpins its prosperity, security, and the interconnectedness of nations. The cost of inaction, letting a major power rewrite maritime law by force, is simply too high for the world to ignore. The EU's stance transforms what might seem like a regional dispute into a truly global issue, with consequences for all. It signals that the world is watching closely, and that international law matters more than ever in today's interconnected world. The EU's voice is a powerful addition to the chorus demanding respect for the rules, reminding all nations that order and justice must prevail. The EU's support gives the Philippines a crucial diplomatic lifeline. Backed by 27 member states, Manila's cause gains global legitimacy. This transforms the dispute from a bilateral standoff to a matter of international concern. EU backing emboldens the Philippines to document and publicize China's actions, winning the battle of narratives. The EU's statements validate Manila's claims, making it harder for China to dismiss them. This encourages other nations to speak up, building a broader coalition for the rules-based order. ASEAN, often divided, finds strength in the EU's principled stand. Economically, EU support helps secure trade preferences and stability for the Philippines. Standing up for sovereign rights leads to stronger partnerships, not isolation. The Philippines shows that with global support, even small nations can defend the law. Europe's own history offers a lesson. The North Sea, once a potential flashpoint, became a model of cooperation. In the 20th century, overlapping claims threatened conflict, but nations turned to law and diplomacy. The North Sea continental shelf cases set principles for fair maritime boundaries. Legal clarity led to peaceful resource sharing and decades of prosperity. The North Sea became a zone of cooperation, not conflict. This experience shapes the EU's approach to the South China Sea. The EU knows that international law isn't just idealism, it's a tool for stability and growth. The message legal arbitration and negotiation can turn conflict into opportunity. The North Sea stands as proof that rules can triumph over force. The EU urges the South China Sea's claimants to choose the same path. The EU's involvement ripples far beyond the Philippines and China. Southeast Asian nations like Vietnam and Malaysia draw confidence from the EU's stand. Major Indo-Pacific powers, Japan, Australia, India, find a partner in the EU for a free and open region. The EU's diplomacy adds weight to the coalition upholding international law. For the US, the EU's assertiveness means the burden is shared, not just American. This multilateral approach gives legitimacy and staying power to the effort. The world is watching. Can the system manage the rise of a new superpower peacefully? If China ignores the law here, it sets a precedent for others to do the same. The EU's stand reinforces that international law applies to all, not just the powerful. It's a defense of a world governed by rules, not might. The South China Sea is a test of international law, especially UNCLOS. UNCLOS defines maritime rights, including the exclusive economic zone, the basis of the Philippines case. China, a signatory, asserts historic rights not recognized by UNCLOS. The 2016 tribunal ruled China's claims invalid, but Beijing refuses to comply. This is a clash between a treaty-based order and a power-based order. The EU defends the treaty system, knowing selective obedience unravels the law. The stakes go beyond a few shoals. UNCLOS underpins global maritime order. If UNCLOS fails here, its authority weakens everywhere, risking more conflict. The Philippines, backed by the EU, fights to keep the law of the sea intact. The world's oceans should be governed by law, not the strongest. The South China Sea isn't just a regional dispute, it's a global chessboard. It's a critical choke point for trade and a battleground for competing worldviews. China's artificial islands are strategic outposts, shifting the region's balance. The EU's involvement globalizes the contest, law versus power. The outcome will shape the future of the international system. If China prevails, it shows revisionist powers can rewrite the rules. If the Philippines and its partners succeed, it proves small nations can defend their rights. The stakes are global. What happens here will echo worldwide. The South China Sea is where two models of order collide. The world is watching to see which will prevail. The South China Sea remains a barometer for the global order's health. The Philippines, backed by the EU, offers a blueprint for small nations facing great power pressure. The key: courage, transparency, and international law. Stability depends on multilateral consensus and sustained engagement. The EU's role, coordinating with partners and supporting ASEAN, is crucial. The goal: convince all parties, including China, that stability serves everyone. The North Sea shows legal clarity brings prosperity. The South China Sea could too. The region's resources can fuel shared growth if peace prevails. The struggle here is a defining challenge. Will law or power rule the seas? The answer will shape the future of international relations for generations.